Nationwide 90 FM.
All right. This is the voice of Kristeena, and you are still listening to Talk Up Radio. Today we're checking in with our local correspondents from around the island just to find out what's happening in their parishes. Today we also have the Talk Up Youth Edutainment Day that you guys can go and check out at Ranny Williams Entertainment Centre. It started already, so get ready right now and jump on a bus or a taxi or a unicorn, as Damian Marley said, and find your way there to have some good, entertaining fun that's clean, that's youth friendly. So just do that. So right now we're going to go international. As you know, we have to talk to our foreign correspondent, and we're tuning in with South Africa. So we're going to talk to Jomiro Eming. Good morning, Jomiro.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hi, Jomiro. So this is Kristeena. Also in studio we have Shaqkeera and we have Jahzeal. They're co-hosting with us today, and they might ask a question or two.
Yes. So hi, Jomiro.
I'm excited. Right.
All right. So Jomiro, tell us your age, and we already told people that you're from South Africa.
Yes.
Great. Yeah, I'm 21 years old, and yeah. South Africa, beautiful country.
So tell us about that beautiful country. You know, the region, the language, anything culturally awesome, food, anything.
Sure. Well, it's been called the tip of Africa, and you know, in the past it's been quite a geographical thing, but I think it's, you know, over the last 2 decades, it's come to mean something a lot more than just a geographical tip of Africa. We've, as a country, we can boast that we have 11 official languages, which I don't think a lot of countries are able to do. We've got isiXhosa, isiZulu, isiNdebele, Sepedi, Sesotho, Setswana, Siswati, Tshivenda, Xitsonga, English, and Afrikaans. So, I mean, it's a melting pot of cultures just from the get-go. But, I mean, we've got, a whole lot of Indian influence as well. You can see that in some of the food we've got, spices and curries, and that's really melted into the whole Cape Malay, which is the local, one of the local cultures as well. And whether it's our food, we've got, even trickling down from the whole of Africa, we've got a whole lot of, Ethiopian dishes, Congolese dishes, and I mean that goes for the people as well. We've got a huge amount of people all over the world.
I'm just a little bit curious. You said 11 languages. That's awesome. How many of them do you speak?
Out of the ones like official languages,
yes.
I only speak isiXhosa, English, and Afrikaans. But yeah, I mean, there's a huge push recently for the other 8 to be spoken and taught. Yeah.
Okay, so Jomiro, tell us a little bit more about yourself. What do you do? Are you a student? Do you work? Like, what's happening?
Yes, I'm a student. I study at Rhodes University in Grahamstown, which is a tiny village on the Eastern Cape. And I'm a journalism student. I'm going into my 3rd year next year.
Yes.
And I'm obsessed with languages. I'm obsessed with culture. And
wow.
Really enjoy the politics and stuff as well.
Okay, good. Well, you mentioned politics. Lovely. What are some of the major issues affecting South African youth?
Big ones for youth are, and I think this goes, I was listening to your show earlier, I think this is a big thing for Jamaica as well, is access to higher and tertiary education.
Right.
And in South Africa, it's even, education at all. We've got huge issues with kids even starting school or finishing the primary or secondary school, and that extends even to employment after university, because you might have the degree, but it's becoming increasingly difficult to become employed as a young adult. And that's a massive issue as well. So, but I mean, there's been a large push for a degree, and not enough emphasis is being placed on those skills training thing, because we don't have A levels, so we stop at secondary, which is it finishes at grade 12. So we don't have A levels and stuff. But a lot of kids don't even get that matric, and if you don't get your matric, you can't go to further in tertiary education. And there just isn't enough push. I mean, we've got a shortage of plumbers and electricians and car mechanics. We don't have those FET colleges that, promote that kind of skills training.
Okay.
But otherwise, a big issue at the moment is obviously funding to tertiary education.
All right, so right on that point, because one of the major stories reported in our local news about South Africa is the coverage of the student protests against the rise in university tuition. What's the situation on the ground? Tell us, journalist, what's happening?
So yeah, I mean, I've been quite active and involved in everything just at my own university.
Yes.
Luckily, it's quite a small university, so most of the major news that you've been seeing has happened in our bigger cities like Johannesburg and Cape Town.
Yeah.
But that said, it's such a complicated issue, and it's been going. I mean, we started this already last year, the student protest. So it's been a 12-month process, and it just picks up and dies down and picks up and dies down. But essentially, at the core of the issue is that government distribution of funding is not put towards education enough, and specifically tertiary and higher education. And there's a lot of discourse around this left out middle, which is where you're too wealthy to qualify for funding from the government, but you're too poor to actually afford university. So you're stuck in this limbo of not being able to go at all. And there are, financial barriers to access is one thing, but there are physical barriers as well, which the government isn't doing enough to actually help the youth with, whether it's living too far away from university.
Yes.
Leaving a family behind that you have to support. A lot of parents have retired, and it's up to the youth to work and support their siblings and support their parents, and now they study as well. So there's really the government's not doing enough for that kind of funding. So these protests are trying to push for that, and the goal at the moment is for free education. Obviously, that's going to be it's a long-term plan. It's not something we wake up to tomorrow. Yeah, we need a concrete plan being put in place.
Okay, and I like where your head is at. And you mentioned that this has been on and off. So do you think that this time around you guys will actually get some things done? What makes this time different?
Yeah, that's kind of what we thought already last year. We had such high hopes for this year being something, but it's something that we need to not let die down. There's a lot of emphasis on keeping the conversation going, and hopefully once this year is finished, we'll be able to have the December holidays to recover. But minute February and January pick up again, we need to be back at it and start talking about it again. Because the government really needs to wake up. And I think the national elections will be a very interesting time, because people will have all of this stuff in mind, and
when they're choosing the leaders. Yes.
Exactly.
Jomiro, let me ask you, what are legislation that are currently in the pipeline to basically curb or fix some of these problems that we have in South Africa?
It's interesting. This is the thing. There's not actually a lot in place. They've implemented so last year they implemented a 0% fee increase for tertiary education, which was a step in the right direction. At the beginning of this year, or even more recently, for next year, the government said that they wouldn't increase the fees by 0%. Would keep the increment at 0%.
Yes.
But universities would be able to increase within their own institution, increase those fees up to but no more than 8%.
Okay.
Which caused an outcry from the students, because obviously that keeps the government's hands clean from, being blamed for any fee increments, and keeps that discussion and those arguments within the university, which really is not the correct target. We should be taking this up to the government, and at the moment they're trying to keep themselves as distant as possible. So it's a very bleak looking situation, but we're hoping that the national student movement and I think the management and stuff are now coming on board as well, and the parents as well. And we've got workers' unions jumping on board, things like the HAU and stuff.
Awesome. I know Kristeena. Right. I know Kristeena and Shaqkeera has a couple more questions for you, but I only have one more burning question on my heart. And let me just ask you. I know that youth apathy, is a national and global issue. How and what rather is South Africa position as it relates to youth apathy in politics or re-politics, etc.?
Do you mean like youth engagement with politics?
Youth engagement in politics, nationalism, nation building.
Yes.
Recently, there's been a lot more engagement from youth. It's been quite quiet, over the past 5 years. But I think with all this talk and stuff on access to tertiary education, we've got, the student representative councils from UCT student representative councils from universities making a lot of noise. They've been representative bodies from students at Parliament recently. So it's really good to see that kind of engagement. And social media has been a massive help to connect universities around the country to really try and converse with each other and have that discourse between different institutions so that we can kind of, find every institution's own issues and try and generalize that and bring that together to, have Parliament respond to those things. So recently it's become a lot better, which is really great.
Lovely. And on that note, what is the best thing about your country?
Yeah, going back positive.
What's the best thing about your country?
Oh, it's difficult. I really do like the diversity of cultures and stuff that you get in this country. But a lot of natural beauty. And it really is quite an honor to be part of a country that is making so many waves for other African countries to ride. It's some of my favorite things.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Jomiro.
Thank you.
We hope that,
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, so we hope the university situation works out and, we can see some global growth and some more connections between Jamaica and South Africa, right?
We'll be checking up on the situation. We're following it.
Okay.